At some point during winter retreat, I kind of realized that hadn't been taking the afflictions so seriously. We received many teachings on working with the afflictions, and I have tried to counteract them. But I think partly with the ceremony that we do to enter into Varsa, where we repeat again and again, or we hear each other say, do not let your mind be uncontrolled. I'll be mindful in my practice. And I try and hold on to that as we go through Varsa. So therefore, it's just a bit more obvious when my mind gets out of control because I'm trying to notice it more. And it's just it was a bit shocking just to see, I guess, maybe the complacency that I noticed in my mind around, oh, there's anger there. And just giving into it, kind of like, oh, it's too hard, or it's not a big deal, or I think it just not being as on top of it as I would have liked. And the verse came to mind from Shantideva, which actually he has in 2 chapters, the same verse, indicating how important it is. So it would be better for me to be buried, to have my head cut off, and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to the afflictions, my enemy. It's like, it's kind of a bit of a reality check around, okay, well, what am I doing? And looking at this, I also brought me back to the beautiful retreats, 2 retreats that Geshe Dadal gave to us on working with afflictive minds. And in that series of talks he gave in 2023, he actually mapped out the whole path to enlightenment in terms of like working with the afflictions is basically all we need to do. And in 4 points, he said that, the whole path can be mapped out in terms of how we work with afflictions. First, we just try and refine our actions of body, speech, and mind, mitigating the affliction somewhat. Then we try and abandon negative actions of body, speech, and mind fueled by the afflictions altogether. And then we try and eliminate the afflictions from the root. And further than that, we try and eliminate even the subtle stains of the afflictions, which we can only do with bodhicitta and therefore attain Buddhahood. And he said that basically for anything to be Dharma practice, it should be directly or indirectly relating to subduing the afflictions and in no way enhancing them. So yeah, going over this was very helpful just to kind of, when I'm getting up in the morning and thinking about how is my day going to go, what do I need to do, how do I want to go about doing it? It's like, how do I get at the forefront of my mind? What afflictions am I working with strongly right now? What afflictions could arise in terms of what the activities that I'm doing or who I'm going to be interacting with, and how can I subdue these? It's so important at every aspect of the path. And I particularly like the definition that Geshe gave about what an affliction is because of his beautiful way of using English. And he said, this is from the Compendium of Abhidhamma, an affliction is that which utterly ruffles the mental continuum upon occurring in it. And that word, just the tactility of that, just being ruffled by something, it embodies to me how my mind is basically vibrating with anger or attachment or the different ways that they affect the mind. And it was interesting as well that he highlighted the different other mental factors that are necessarily there whenever we have an affliction in our mind. And so whenever we have a non-virtuous mental state, anger, attachment, greed, pride, we necessarily also have a lack of integrity and consideration for others. Wow. So whenever we are afflicted, we don't have our integrity or consideration running through our mind. That's a bit of a wake-up call in terms of how we're encouraged to really cultivate our sense of integrity and consideration for others as we go through our training. But also, whenever we have an afflicted state of mind, we have a lack of faith, laziness, lack of conscientiousness also. So I can see this in my mind. It's like, if I'm angry or wanting to retaliate to someone, or just really strongly holding on to how they harmed me, or I'm grabbing after that other thing, thinking that an external object is going to make me happy, then my faith in the Dharma and the 3 jewels as the ultimate source of refuge is not there, or even faith in the antidotes to the afflictions. And the laziness, which I think I was identifying in my own mind of like discounting the seriousness of letting these mental states run through and then the behaviors that follow on for them. And also lack of conscientiousness around, like, conscientiousness is that mind that really values virtue. And so when we're afflicted, we're not valuing virtue. Putting it that way is kind of wakes me up a little bit. And so then seeing this clearly then as part of the retreats, and the next step is like, okay, well, how can I antidote this? And what really stuck out to me was like, oh, this is all analytic meditation in terms of, like, key here is analytic meditation around antidoting wrong thinking with right thinking. And one of the quotes that Geshe-la brought in by William James, a psychologist, said, much of our unhappiness comes from listening to ourselves. We need to talk to ourselves instead. Like, oh, yeah, just like, listening to that angry voice or that loop that I've got playing in my mind by, they harmed me, they did this, they did this, they did this, or I need this to be happy. It's like, no, let's take a step back and talk to myself about the disadvantages of the afflictions, how external objects are not the source of happiness or pain. So I really like that in terms of also what Venerable Children often says, don't believe everything you think. We can't trust our thoughts necessarily. And so we need to be seeing the destructive side of the afflictions. And as Geshe-la said, all the afflictions come with, oh, you need me right now. I will protect you. But in the end, they end up destroying us. So we need to see the destructive nature. And he had a whole list of the destructive nature of the afflictions, but one is that it enslaves us without choice. It's like, oh yes, I can relate to that, about how no one chooses to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to be a jerk and be spiteful. It's like, we don't choose that, but do I do that sometimes? Yes. I'm enslaved by my anger or by my pride or by my greed. And coming back to the definition of it ruffling the state of the mind, it's like immediately our peace of mind is disturbed with the afflictions. And that's kind of where I really want to take the edge of my practice to be. It's like, whenever my mind is disturbed, stop. Something's wrong there. There's some wrong thinking there. Stop what you're doing and take stock and check in and apply an antidote. Don't just keep going. And then there were kind of three other disadvantages that come under this powerful statement that Geshe-la made around the greatest casualty of the afflictions is our intelligence. We're trying to cultivate wisdom, but when we are afflicted, it distorts our perception of reality. We don't see things clearly. It triggers misinformed or just uninformed reactions when we're misconstruing someone's behavior or what they're saying, taking it exactly the wrong way. And it sabotages our capacity for discernment. I know that trying to think things through logical or make good decisions when I'm afflicted, it can't really happen because I'm on a loop. I'm clinging to something, either clinging, trying to pull it in or push it away. So in this series, Geshe-la encouraged us to contemplate in a variety of ways, because then the antidotes will arise in a variety of ways, and to contemplate them regularly and with frequency, so that the antidotes will become stronger and more enduring. And then this sense of caution will develop within us. And that's what I'm really wanting to cultivate more strongly, to get over that sense of complacency I identified earlier. And so this kind of boils down to being mindful of the mind, seeing that our mind is actually our own worst enemy when the afflictions are running. And it's particularly when we're not being watchful, having introspective awareness, then we stand, like as Shantideva says, we're standing in the jaws of the afflictions. And to also, Geshe mentioned, using the analogy of the wound, seeing that our mind is like a wound. And we protect our wound when we travel anywhere so it doesn't get bumped, especially if we're in a big crowd of unruly people. So do we protect our mind in that way, in terms of what we are allowing ourselves or who we're allowing ourselves to be in contact with? Or if there's no choice about the activity or the people we're around, then preparing ourselves beforehand. Yeah. And he advised at the start of every event or project to check in with our state of our mind, check in with our motivation, as Venerable Jigme often encourages us to do here as well. And yeah, this daily, multiple times a day practice is the best gift we can give to ourselves, but also the best gift we can give to others. Because as we know, living here, how we work with our minds or don't work with our minds hugely impacts everyone else around us. So maybe just to end with the quote that I started with by Shantideva: "It would be better for me to be buried, to have my head cut off, and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to the afflictions of my enemies."